Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Good morning all. Yes, it really is blue skies here early on Sunday morning here at the Edinburgh Fringe. I'm taking my walk with my friend Arthur. Can't see anyone going up Arthur's seat. In fact, I can't see anyone at all. I think I've actually preceded the joggers this morning. There isn't one. Oh, someone with their dog. But this is the morning that heads us slowly into the final week of the Edinburgh Fringe. And the phrase of the morning isn't a particularly nice one. It's 1-star reviews. And I just noticed something on a friend's Facebook feed about getting a 1-star review. Said it was a pretty nasty review. A nasty review is another, maybe a phrase for the morning. And this is all about how do you deal with those 1-star reviews. If you come up here regularly to the Fringe, you're always going to get one, maybe not a 1-star, but a bad review, one that you thoroughly disagree with, and one that could be harming your show as the only review that's sitting there before your gaze as you look it up online. And the first thing to say about that, which I think I probably said before, is don't give it any attention beyond giving it the first read if you have to. And I have friends who come up to the Edinburgh Fringe that do not read any of their reviews at all. Certainly not until September. And that might be the exception rather than the rule, but there's something to be said for just focusing on your work, just believing in your work. It's a big investment to come up here and you've made something, and you may or may not be open to informal feedback from friends, fellow performers, your director, and not to worry about what's being said online. But the key thing about not giving it much attention is also a technical one, because as you keep reading it, googling it, staring at it, not only can that affect your own health and well-being, sense of self-confidence, but you're giving it the attention that sends it up the search rankings. So whereas you were the only one that saw it, these things disappear down the search engine rankings, even if they appear at all. Some are going to be on page 20 for somebody else, but they're on page 1 for you because you've looked it up very specifically. So one of my favourite phrases up at the Edinburgh Fringe is, if a review falls in a Fringe and there's no one there to see it, does it exist? Well, I think the truth is it doesn't exist. 1-star reviews can be very, very important for you, and particularly if you get a 1-star review in a prominent publication, even that review doesn't necessarily find its way up the search rankings. But if it turns out the reviewer does know what they're talking about, and you can find that out by checking them out and their background as a, perhaps also as a theatre maker or a well-known or well-respected director, then in the longer run for sure, and even in the shorter run of the Edinburgh Fringe, a 1-star review can be a gift, because it gives you time to make changes if you actually agree with that review. And that can be difficult. But if they say that your performance wasn't convincing, that it didn't land with the audience, that simply the material wasn't funny, and you think it is, but then when you think about it you realise that perhaps something's gone wrong with your show and it needs a rethink, then negative feedback is always potentially useful feedback. Now, I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything a 1-star review says, but there is potential gold in getting feedback from somebody who you might even respect, but when you look them up they seem to know what they're talking about. But in many cases, and that's why I'm recording this video this morning, that isn't the case. There's definitely no one up on Arthur's seat as the first jogger comes rushing by. And there he is. So at one level, acceptance of a review isn't to accept it without critical thought yourself, but the initial reaction can be one of disappointment and even anger, and essentially the 1-star reviewer is a jerk. But let's go with the idea that the 1-star reviewer is a jerk and this is just a bit of a vindictive, nasty review. And in one case, a show on mental health, the reviewer ignored the prominence of that and the importance of it, and just had a go at the performer, had a go at the venue, and was clearly in a bad mood or was out to get you. And beyond just not giving it attention, which means you help it to disappear at the Fringe, there are other things obviously that are worth doing. In some cases, if you then get a good review and the 1-star review is kind of looking ridiculous next to it, some people put both on their posters and can have fun with that 1-star review. If you look around Edinburgh most years, you'll see a comedy improv troupe called Shit-Faced Shakespeare, who have a clutch of 5-star reviews and one 1-star review with a bit of a nasty comment from the Times, and that's up on their posters. And so it should be, because it makes it look a bit ridiculous and makes going to see the show even more interesting. That happens with restaurant reviews in some cases, where one critic says the food's disgusting and everybody else says it's great, and it kind of makes the food look even greater. But the 1-star review has an impact. It's like being shot, it's like being punched in the stomach, it's like being denied and cancelled, and you sit with it. And here at the Fringe we get wounded very easily, and we can obsess about it. And ultimately the 1-star review is just one person's opinion, unless there really is someone who knows exactly what they're talking about and there's some feedback to actually take on, maybe rewrite something, re-rehearse something a bit, and find that feedback was a gift. And I'd say that certainly happens with Fringe review. It happens with some of the papers where the person talking about the directing or the design is a director or a designer of successful work, and he's just offering you feedback. But I would suggest that those people don't tend to give a 1-star review. They will write more constructively. Often they'll write to you privately, and they will be able to identify the good in your show, and there is good in every show, whether anybody says different. They won't tend, I would say, to give a 1-star review. So put it out of your mind, put it away. No one's reading it, or hardly anybody does. Don't give it attention amongst your cast with everybody looking it up, and suddenly it does appear at the top of the search rankings. See if you can glean anything useful and helpful from it. And if you can't, then it's more about letting go of it. And that's easier said than done. But the best thing you can do is try and get more reviews. The best thing that you can do, whether it's an audience review, someone's blog, somebody in a bad mood, is to realise, and this is my other favourite quote, just because it's about you doesn't mean it's personal. This person rarely knows who the person is that they're writing about. And if they're writing about the performer, the performance, they're not necessarily writing about you. And there are billions and billions of people on this planet, and if it's your first show here, other people get reviews like that and go on to do great things. And the rogue review, as I often call it, and other people do, is sometimes almost like, why was it me that just tripped over that little stone in Edinburgh and fell over? And it's because occasionally, just by pure bad luck, you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And sometimes it says more about the reviewer than it does about you. Ultimately, the 1-star review can bruise our ego. And we're not up here for ego. That's not the best place to be at the Edinburgh Fringe. The best place to be is to bring work and to believe in your work. And it's certainly worth going to friends, saying how you feel, getting a bit of support if it's really hurting you, but ultimately remember that you brought the work, and it's time to let go of the 1-star review. I know that's tough if it's the only review, but your best chance is to continue with your work, love what you do, and then you notice that 4-star review. Quite often the 1-star review is a rogue one, and you'll start to collect really good audience reviews if you don't get a review from any of the other publications. And just as one person says your work is crap, says offensive things, where 5 others said they really enjoyed your show, that's what this is all about. The Edinburgh Fringe can be a harsh place, an unforgiving place, and sometimes an indifferent place. And I'd say we overrate the 1-star reviews. because 1-star reviews aren't just 1 star often about your work. It's a 1-star review, and that 1 star applies to the person who wrote it.